What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Migliore Luxury Car Care Products. Migliore is known for making the best of the best when it comes to car care. Their product line is handmade and poured right here in the USA in Connecticut. Migliore's Strata Coating is a ceramic coating treatment you can easily apply yourself. It adds a ton of gloss, lasts over a year, and keeps your car looking great for longer in between washes. It's extremely hydrophobic, meaning water just sheets right off, making maintenance so much easier. Strata Coating has over 100 positive reviews on Amazon if you need to vet it. With spring right around the corner, you can use code TST at checkout at migliorewax.com. That's MIGLIORE wax.com. Get 10% off at migliorewax.com. You know, I've got ceramic on a top of a wrap on my 911, and I actually have a hard time getting it dirty. I keep trying to get it dirty because it's a Safari 911, and so it should look dirty. And actually, the dirt keeps just coming right off. It's actually very funny. 10% off using code TST at checkout for migliorewax.com. Also, got to talk to you for a second about the Brio Beardscape. You know, just about every guy I know owns a trimmer, the battery-powered or plug-in buzzer that trims your hair. And just about every guy has had a bad experience with at least one crappy trimmer. Either the blades get dull really fast and start pulling hairs, they're loud, clattery, the motor feels weak, or the battery just stops holding a charge. If that sounds familiar, it's time to upgrade to the Brio Beardscape. I've been using the Beardscape about once a week for a year, like 50, 60 shaves, and I have yet to charge it. I charged it once when I first bought it. I still haven't charged it yet. There's a little life left in that battery. I will have to charge it soon. It's approaching like a year and a half. I will have to charge it soon, but like it has legit been like at least 14 months. The Beardscape is perfect for trimming your face, head, or for general manscaping. One of the reasons the Beardscape cuts better is because it has a ceramic blade that's extremely sharp and stays sharper much longer than stainless steel. One of my other favorite things about the Beardscape is how quiet yet powerful this trimmer is. It really is quiet, like a Tesla, quiet and powerful. It may be time for you guys to upgrade to the Beardscape. Check it out at brio4life.com. That's BRIO, the number 4life.com, and use code SMOKING at checkout. That's Brio, the number 4life.com, code SMOKING at checkout, and that's for the best price on the internet for the Brio Beardscape. Okay, on this episode, we got an old friend of the show in studio, Mr. Matt Hardigree. He was formerly editor-in-chief at Jalopnik, which I'm sure you have heard of. He's now working over with JF at Tangent Vector as a producer on the show Proving Grounds with Sam Smith, Lee Keane, and Parker Kligerman on camera. He's in studio hanging out with us today. It's our old pal, Mr. Matt Hardigree, on the Smoking Tire Podcast.
Your volume up.
Poor Tyler.
That's funny.
It's always a Tyler.
All right. Well, if there's someone there listening, and apparently there is, it's the Smoking Tire Podcast on a motherfucking Sunday. We usually don't work on the weekends, but sometimes Matt Hardegree arrives from an aeroplane. What's up, buddy?
Nothing much. Good to be here.
I'm sure it is. Are you caffeined up? Are you fucking good? Do we need to get you some drugs or something? Like,
I don't drink caffeine.
What?
This is all natural.
He does not need it.
Really?
He does not need it.
Oh.
Have you met me? Do you know how much I talk? Did you imagine me on caffeine?
Well, I know, but you were all like, oh my God, I'm jet lagged and I'm going to be asleep. And this podcast is going to be a problem.
He's like a popcorn machine with conversation. It's just like it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes all day long.
I guess it has been a while.
It's been
since we've had. Like last time we hung out, I guess we had things to do. Like we were at work.
Yeah, we were busy.
We were busy doing things.
And then you were so nice. You let me have your hotel room. And so because you had a party to go to, and we'd gotten you a room at the Standard, and so for a shoot, and so my wife and daughter came up.
I forgot where I went.
You went in costume.
But I hope in costume.
You did.
What kind of costume?
When was this?
Western wear, maybe.
Fuck out of here. Where was I going? West. Oh. Hannah's like family birthday party in Long Island. Yeah. Hannah's family has like a themed birthday party once a year and out on Long Island, and that's where I was.
Long Island.
But it's not that Long Island because it's
Long Island.
It's Long Beach, which is down by Jones Beach.
It's
not like real Long Island. It's definitely Hurricane Sandy Long Island, but it's not real.
A lot of Long Island got hit by. I think Musto's parents live there, and they have like a backup generator that kicked on, and you know.
Oh, Hannah's parents were fucked. They are the first house. I mean, like ocean, sand, Hannah's parents' house. So like they had 4 feet of water like through their whole main level of their house. Like their house was completely fucked. Like there's a big dune. You know, it's it's like a big sand dune that they make specifically so that most of the time the water doesn't come over that. But if you saw the pictures, you know how fucked it was. Yeah, they didn't have power for I think the 6 or 8 days, and they like stayed, like they lived in the upper 2 floors of their house with like no power. Like it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, their neighbors have a house that was on stilts already. And so they were able to like go shower at their neighbors and stuff. But it was fuck. We were just in Florida, the Gulf Coast of Florida, which, I mean, I'm sure in other parts of the country it was a major news story. But here in LA, it totally got lost in the fucking cycle. Like Hurricane Michael through Panama City and shit. Panama City was like, did we talk about the thought process of Panama City, Zach?
We did not.
Okay, here's a confession. Like, I'm okay enough in myself to admit when I don't know something. Like, not everyone can do that. I wanted to we had to add a few miles on this drive from Atlanta to Orlando. So we had to add a few miles. So we're like, okay, let's go a little west and then kick it back, just to add some miles. So like, where should we go? We're looking at the map. We're like, Panama City. It's like, is it spring break? Like, it might be. Like, this could be fun. We're trying to book hotels in Panama City, and Zach, you're broadcasting the home screen, and we're trying to book and all the hotels. Zach's like, all these hotels are full. And I'm like, man, Panama City must be popping off. The spring break,
it's a spring break destination. There's a Senior Frogs and stuff, and we're like, man, I guess it just filled up. He's driving. I'm on the computer, tethered, like Googling spring break months, and it does start the week we're driving.
Yeah,
we're like, man, this place must be going.
And like,
nuts.
oh my god, you can only book hotels like 20, 30 miles outside of town. And then we got there, we realized why that was, and it's because they're all gone. Everything's gone. It's a pile of rubble. It's fucking Hiroshima.
It's really like horrible to see. I mean, we got there and there were like, I'm pulling it up on the screen, but there were trees that were just broken in half, like an entire grove of trees. That was like this whole thing. Just there are numerous forests like this that look like that.
I actually think because I'm driving, my Instagram pictures don't really do the destruction justice, because like I like there was some fucking like just neighborhoods that were vanished. I mean, it was absolutely brutal.
They said 60% of buildings that got knocked down. Like, this used to be a house on these stilts. There was a house here, and all around him to the right are like flat platform foundations.
Go to the next picture over. One picture over. That was a neighborhood. That was a whole neighborhood completely gone.
I'd buy that. Have you been in a hurricane before?
I've been in like little ones. I've never been in a big one.
Yeah, big
hurricanes. Been in a really big one. Which one?
Hurricane Ike.
That was a big one.
That was a big one.
Where was that?
In Houston.
The Houston one. That's the one. I think Hennessy lost his house. I think John, not a friend of yours, but I think John.
No, John.
Was he a friend of yours?
We're cool.
You're okay.
We're cool now. We're cool now. Yeah, he wasn't before. We're cool now.
All right. I think he lost his house in that.
Yeah. No, it's that. I mean, it is scary. We were actually. We lived in Houston. My wife and I lived in Houston. In the city, and we went up to my parents' house up in the suburbs to get further inland away from the hurricane, and nothing happened to our apartment, and two trees fell in the house we were staying at, including into the garage. We go into the garage, and like we heard the first tree, but it was the middle of the night because for some reason, and I've been in two two pretty bad hurricanes, and both times they hit at night. And so we heard the first tree hit the house, and we're like, okay, the roof got hit. Nothing was leaking, everything was fine. And then we heard a second crash, but we walked around, and we couldn't figure out what it was. And then we went into the garage, and there's just water dumping into the cars. And then my dad, like, just trying to climb into the.
It's like a crawl space up there.
Yeah,
kind
up
of thing?
into the attic because there's no basements, and he crawls into the attic, and then he's like, "I think I got it." He's just like trying to put like a tarp up, and then he just comes flying through the drywall and lands on his back.
Oh my God!
Yeah, he was. I mean, he didn't feel great after that, but he was okay.
all right.
But we didn't have power for like 6 or 7 days, which was great.
That's
so
the real problem.
He got to
man.
not shower and then feel gross. Yeah, the storm's bad. The lack of power is.
The lack of power is a real problem.
The first warm meal I had after that, after 5 days of eating like peanut butter and jelly and tuna and stuff like that, was like just like somebody's just like spaghetti and just like sauce out of a can, and I was like, this is the best food I've ever had in my life.
I can imagine. Yeah. That's probably super, super shitty.
Yeah.
Well, good to have you. Start that one on a pretty fucking grim note, but here we is. It's appropriate.
Oh my God.
If this were a blog post, it'd be like, what car would you escape a hurricane with?
Is that where we just were at?
No, this is Hurricane Ike aftermath.
Oh wow, that's fucking bad. But that road is that's Ike, not Michael, but that road with what used to be houses all around it and now nothing is basically the road. It might as well have been where we were driving for Panama City as well. It's just completely gone.
Yeah, so if
crazy.
you're feeling charitable, look up Panama City Beach hurricane relief.
I talked to Dave Puppy Knuckles about, and he thinks that we can have an image. We have to talk because technically Road and Track paid him to shoot them, and that means they own the images. But if it's for charity, we might be able to figure out some kind of a cool poster. Then we can. I don't know who the hell we'd donate money to. We'd figure out somebody.
I'm sure somebody needs it.
Oh shit, do people need it, man? And we're doing another poster for fire here in Malibu as well. So
That's awesome.
The world is fighting back.
Yeah, 100%.
The world is sick of our shit and is definitely fighting back.
It's like sending antibodies, like inflammation.
Yeah. What's your fucking after what 3 years at Jalopnik? How many years running Jalopnik?
I was editor-in-chief for 3 years, but
Yeah,
I was
so-
sort of quasi-managing editor and news editor. I was at the company at Jalopnik for 7 years, and I did 2 years sort of as like an overarching editor for all of Gawker Gizmodo Media before Hulk Hogan took us down.
Yeah.
And
Univision.
yeah, and then Univision bought us, which was arguably worse. And then it was fun.
But no, but I just mean like, what's your gig title now? I mean, I know you're doing production with JF and Drive and Proving Grounds, but what's the actual title? Because I don't fucking know.
So I'm now senior creative producer.
That sounds made up.
It is made up. It doesn't mean anything. What are you, Zach?
Supervising producer, but it depends on the project.
Yeah.
So that was my title for Drive on NBC Sports, and then if it's Proving Grounds, I'm like
You're assistant director, I think. Yeah.
in
In the spreadsheet,
Assistant
you got
director is
upgrade.
usually the loud one. The director is usually the
right.
quiet one, and the assistant director is the loud one. Like when I got on a real TV set for the first time, like a big fucking set, I thought the assistant director was the director and vice versa, and I made a real fucking ass of myself at the fucking after party of that shoot. Like, oh, director, like assistant director, huh? And like director, like fuck, shit.
on big shoots, the AD basically keeps everything on schedule, and it's their job to like yell at everybody, but the director doesn't want to. Like they have the vision, and the AD just is almost like cracking the whip.
Yeah, but for that show, for Proving Grounds, I'm the showrunner.
Usually that's good.
So that's good.
That's good.
So
That's the
fun.
top. That's usually the top.
To Matt's credit,
No one really knows what a showrunner does.
in real Hollywood,
I've
like,
asked
you
like
keep
10
everything moving.
Hollywood people to explain to me what it is a showrunner actually fucking does. And they're just like, you just organize that person. I was like, I thought the executive producer did that. Like, no. The executive producer just writes the checks. The showrunner does what everyone thinks the executive producer does. Like, okay.
That sounds right.
I think that's correct.
But I couldn't get a list of things, though, when I tried. It's just like, calls and things.
Well, like
Shit.
Greg Fitzsimmons, he's a stand-up comedian. He has been hired and worked as a showrunner on multiple sitcoms, and so they bring him in. Like he knows how to write TV, he knows how to help shoot TV, and so he's like he's overseeing all the writers and making sure that the vision is getting executed well with the director and stuff.
Oh, there you go.
There's a lot of different jobs.
Yeah.
But Matt,
it's your job to make sure this is actually funny.
yes, he's part of that. And Matt, you know, he helped create the Proving Grounds show, and you wrote the flow of all the episodes and the structure of all the episodes, and like you came up with.
Well, that's significant.
It's very significant. It is. He did a lot of fucking work on it.
How significant?
It was significant, and then Zach and
How many
Sam
times can we say significant?
Parker come in and make it really funny. So it was fun. Yeah, Proving Grounds was great, and it's great to work on. And I think we have like a social media policy. I'm like, all right, guys, we can take pictures that we're out in the desert, etc. But like, we're not going to say that we're doing a second season of Proving Grounds. And then Parker lands and then posts on Instagram a picture of where we are and goes, Proving Grounds season 2! ! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! So I don't think that it's a secret that we are
you guys
shooting
need to be
second.
on the same page here.
Yeah.
Someone's not.
Parker just is very excited
all
about
the
everything,
time.
And he's really good at Instagram, and you know he's live updating like what snack he's eating at the airport all the time. So he just gets a little bit exuberant.
The show looks like a fun time. I mean, the first season was rad. It was cool. I like the 80s vibe. It's fun. My friends all in it, doing silly things in cars.
It's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
You know, there's like a structure of. For people that haven't seen it, well, you should explain. You built the thing. What am I saying?
We built the thing. I will say this: it's like a camp atmosphere because it's out of Chuckwalla's where we shoot it, and we live out there, and we don't leave the track because there's nowhere to go. It's in the middle of the Mojave Desert, right? So there's nothing for an hour in each direction. No, they have cabins out there now.
Oh, they have cabins.
Yeah.
Are they decent?
Yeah.
They
Totally.
It's actually really nice.
Now that they're bolted to the foundation, they're even better because
Really?
some of them blew over in a windstorm
Fuck outta
6
here,
months
really?
ago.
Yeah.
Yes. The guy that
mental note: nail down your cabins.
and to be clear, the guy that installed those was fired, and the people that run that camp are super nice and cool. And they just looked across the way and were like, "Oh shit!" So,
Anybody in them?
no,
Nobody was hurt. But so Zach and I share a cabin, and we realized because of the shooting schedule, we'll have spent. Ryan Spanchik pointed this out. We'll have spent a month of the last year
In that
living
cabin?
together in that cabin in the desert.
wow.
And so it is camp for us. But yeah, I mean the basic premise of the show is like we have a racetrack.
Wow, look at that. Is that the cabin?
Yeah, look at all those cabins.
cabins.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah, I mean it only slightly resembles an internment camp. I mean, it's not.
No, it's like it smells like
I'm
wood
kidding.
because they're really freshly
I'm
built.
kidding.
And
It looks
the
nice.
nearest hotel is an hour away.
No, yeah. As far as racetrack cabins go, I will rather than drive anywhere once you're at Chuckwall. Chuckwall is such a great track to drive, but it's so fucking far in the middle of nowhere.
It is.
But that's I mean, no other place in the world would let us get away with what we do on Proving Grounds. There's no other track because we've shot it. I mean, between all
That's
of
true.
us, we've shot
Safety
at everyone.
must come third.
I mean, we've built trust with them because we've worked with them a lot. We've shot there before. They know we'll tell if we're gonna do anything crazy. We tell them, and they're just like, okay, you think you can do it, and we explain how we're gonna do it, and we do it. And for the most part, or we just do it, and then we hope they don't notice. And it's great.
It's so far in the middle of nowhere they don't actually get cable, so it's good.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, we get away with a lot, and this season even more of just like, okay, well, like I at the end of this last shoot that we did, I called them and I was like, hey, I know there's a lot of rubber here on this part of the track, and we did this, we did that, and we had a few, and I'm like, should we move this, whatever? And they're like, no, it's fine, we don't care, you're good. And so it's great. So I mean, the show is just basically Ephraim from a buddy of ours from Mazda was just like, as he was trying to explain it to like the people up at his company so he could access to something, he was just like, it's like they gave like a bunch of teenagers like access to cars and a track and just let them go nuts, and that's basically it. There's not a plot to the show, really.
No, it's true. It's pretty
Just
simple.
come up with silly car games and then execute them.
Most of the time, try to
Attempt to execute them.
Yeah, and we built an obstacle course, and we run every car through the obstacle course, and we see how it goes. And I think the exciting thing about the show is just watching how different cars approach the obstacles. Like, because there's parallel parking, there's speed bumps, and so a Polaris Razor Turbo and a Subaru WRX go around the track at the exact same time.
Okay.
They at the exact same time, but they do not go around the track in the same way.
Same way, yeah.
The Turbo, the Polaris is just sideways and bendy and weird the whole time. The WRX is real
I feel like
flat.
my 911 would probably do very well.
It would.
The Safari would probably do well, except if you have to parallel park those fucking mirrors. Although if Lee is
That's the
driving it, though, he can probably drive with those stupid mirrors.
He's gotten very good at parallel
He's gotten
parking.
good at parallel parking with
He
those
does all the
mirrors.
hot laps, but like he said, your car would make up time on speed bumps because it probably wouldn't slow down at all.
No,
versus
you go
like
flat. Yeah,
a new
flat.
GT3 slows down a whole
You can
lot.
also probably cut entire corners on the racetrack by going through dirt.
We do have a dirt shortcut that you can't cut corners on all the corners, but you can cut one of them and take the dirty shortcut, which is like silty.
And what's
off-road vehicles
what's
take
it
that.
work? Is it worth a lot of time if you do it?
I actually have no idea.
Well, it's hard to say
It
because
would be a
it's-
little fucked up. How sadistic would it be if you made a dirt shortcut that actually took longer to get through than?
It's definitely a much shorter distance, but to go like one, you're losing traction there because it's silty. Two, not every vehicle could go through there. Like if
Yeah.
you drove a normal 911 there, you're getting stuck immediately.
No,
Yeah.
the only thing I saw from I remember is the fire truck thing or whatever gets driven through it.
Off-road fire truck.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, one of my favorite cars I've ever driven is the off-road fire truck.
Well,
And
how do
it
you
killed
not
me
love
there.
that?
Oh, and it drifted out of it too because
Did
it's
it?
got. Oh yeah, I mean it was.
Do you know what I'm going to drive in 2 weeks?
I don't.
I'm going to Minnesota to drive a Sherp. Do you know what a Sherp
Oh yeah,
is? A Sherp is a Russian off-road vehicle.
isn't it in Fast and Furious? Isn't that a Sherp?
No, I don't believe
That's
it is.
the night. Oh, you're driving this?
No, you're thinking of the Night Conquest is what The Rock drives. This is a Sherp.
Oh,
This thing floats.
It floats. Yes, the Sherp is an ATV. It's hard to get a sense of scale. It's about the size of a minivan. The cab
Yeah.
is about the size of a minivan.
Okay.
Okay, and it has gigantic fucking tires. It has gigantic tires that are significant. It floats. And so it has like a fucking nuclear reactor for a heater. It has crazy differentials, and you drive it like a tank, right? And it is apparently fully unstoppable. Like they drove one across Russia without using roads. Russia. Not even
so
America.
cool.
They drove it across Russia. Like you can drive up apparently a 1 meter wall. You can just drive up. And you can also drive it on like this picture here. What we're going to do in Minnesota is drive it in frozen lakes and bust through the fucking ice. And then like it floats.
Dude, that's amazing. I hope they have a drone for you to get footage of
Well,
that from
Travis
above.
is
That's
going to send a shooter, and I requested droney shooter.
great. It has 44 horsepower.
Yeah, I know. It only goes 28 miles an hour, and that's why I said, I think, is it street legal? And they said, like, yeah, in Montana, if you put some, like, special lights on it, you can make it street legal, but it only goes, like, 30. So you really, like, but it's not expensive. Like, it's $125,000. Like, I realize that that's a lot of money, but consider that a decent stock Jeep Wrangler is $55,000 out the door. And consider like what people do to like build some crazy like King of the. I want to run a stock one of these in King of the Hammers.
yeah.
Oh man,
Like and just go nice and slow, but just right up fucking everything.
it'd be interesting because there's some places where you'd have to go over some really big rocks. You'd be so slow, and you would definitely roll down the hill in some spots. But it'd be pretty cool. Actually, no, it's smaller than it looks. The proportions are weird.
You gotta see if you can find a picture of it. Like there's a guy, so there's a guy in the cab there, so you can kind of see. Apparently, it sleeps 4. Like the basic cabin has 4 like bunks in it. But he said, once you buy one, it has a basic, just like kind of an open van back, and you can, outfit it however you want.
Dude, look how soft the tires are. They're wrinkling on a sand dune.
I think it might have central tire inflation.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
I like.
It looks so funny.
Dude, this guy called me and he was like, do you want to come out here? It took me 3 seconds to say yes.
Yes.
This is the coolest thing ever.
Their promotional video was incredible.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has like a full on heater. Like you can use the engine heater to heat the cabin because it's going to be like 20 below in Minnesota, right? So you can use the engine heater to heat the cabin, or it has a full on like auxiliary heater. I swear the dude said it was turbine powered. Like I swear that's what I heard the guy say, but I don't hold me to
Sure,
it.
why not? Wait, it drives like a tank. You're saying it has 2 controls, one for
levers.
the left and the lever. Okay,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Fully tank
No
style.
suspension, right?
I mean, the tires apparently
I
the
don't know.
Yeah,
suspension.
look at the tire wrinkling right there.
No suspension. Now that's an interesting thought. It must have a suspension. What kind of off-road vehicle would have no suspension? That doesn't make sense. It's
got to have some kind of spring.
But it doesn't. Yeah, maybe it does.
It doesn't look like you can get. It looks like the whole vehicle articulates as opposed to like axles. But
That's a good question.
I don't know.
I'm trying to.
I don't
Their
know.
website is working very slowly.
Yeah, it's from Russia. So I don't know. I'm going to find out everything there is to know about this fucking thing. We should try and get one. It only goes 28 though.
Yeah.
But there must be something fun you can do with it, even at. I mean, you can crush cars. You can run over cars and shit with it. You could drive over another car.
So for Proving Grounds, one thing that I do want to do is we have the parallel parking. A lot of our challenges are built out of either jersey barriers or cardboard boxes that we're constantly putting back up, although we've gotten better at it. And I do just want to I'll say this. Sam Smith did plow through, we have a chicane, we call it Goodwood. So it's modeled after the Goodwood chicane, but instead of out of hay bales, we build it out of white boxes because we don't want to destroy cars.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Sam Smith's one of the hosts of the show and obviously a great journalist. And he just his brain turned off for a second. And he just plowed a Buick straight through them, and they went up into the air. And
I mean, at least it was only a Buick, I guess.
It was only Buick, and it was only cardboard boxes. Sam is really bad at sleeping, before any job.
Yeah, he gets super nervous and stuff, and he doesn't sleep well.
So he shows up on 3 hours of sleep and just
then
chugs
has 19
coffee.
cups of coffee.
And this is 5 p.m. and who knows?
Yeah,
because he's a very good driver, but not in that moment.
No, he's a great driver and a great writer, but he when driving fast, and talking at the same time is quite difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's a very hard thing to do. Most people just can't do it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Sam can do it most of the time, like when he sleeps.
Big difference.
Me too. If I can summon 10 minutes to make it happen if I'm hungover. Otherwise, I'm fine. But if I'm hungover, you don't want me doing it. It's not good. It's not good at all.
We all slow down a little bit, speaking wise and driving wise.
Yeah, right. Where else were we? Proving Grounds. Off-road fire truck. That sounds fucking cool.
It's fun. Sherpa looks amazing. I'm going to try to get that if we get another season. A lot of the show's also just what are things that I would like to drive.
Totally.
Showrunner means that I get the first call to see what cars we have in the show.
Yeah.
And so it's just I would like to drive that. I would like to drive that. I would like to drive that. And generally, I think my tastes run pretty. Not always.
That's off-road fire. Pull that over, Zach. That rules. I would love. It's a
brush truck. That's what they call them.
Is that? I mean, obviously that's some kind of Chrysler chassis cab. Or was it a Ford?
Oh, there's the 6x6. They do both.
Sorry, the first picture was a Dodge, right? I wasn't just seeing
they do
shit.
Both.
Yeah, okay, cool.
They do both. It depends on what model you're getting, but basically, the vehicles that we've seen before doing trail maintenance that carry 12 people and drive up the trail.
Yeah,
those things cost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
and so they wanted to make something for Forest Service that's. It's still $100,000 or something like that, but it's a third the price of what they're charging, and it's got more ground clearance and more articulation. It just drives like a truck.
Yeah, yeah. Like a normal person could get in it and drive it. You don't need a Class A or whatever.
No, yeah, completely. It drives like a big pickup truck. I mean, if the water tank or the foam tanks are full, there's a sign I think that said center of gravity different than stock vehicle when tanks are full.
Yeah, Larry and I, when we had our van, I don't know. I think Larry still has the van. This big, Ford van that we bought as a mobile detailing truck, and Larry installed a 200-gallon water tank in the back. And if the tank was completely empty or the tank was completely full, it was okay. But if the tank was half full and you were fucking maneuvering, it would slosh, and it was like an aftershock. If you had to make a evasive maneuver, the tank would slosh in the back, and it was
Wait, was the tank over the rear axle?
The tank was sort of. It was roughly. It was a mid-rear, but roughly over the axle. I think it was just in front of the rear axle,
but still in the back. But in the back, 25% of the car.
It wasn't all the way at the back. It was in the it would be at the 60-yard line.
Okay, all right.
Mid-engine.
Yeah,
mid-engine van.
Yeah, the center of mass was a little fucking wonky.
It seems very dangerous.
Slosh the fuck around. It was a little weird.
You could dodge a car on the highway and then hit a different one because the water
After
moved.
a while, we realized that you really had to drive it either empty or full. Otherwise, it was a little sketchy. Oh, dude. You should tell you what you should definitely get is one of those mil-spec Hummers I just had to go in.
How was that?
Fucking awesome.
Really?
Yeah. You should have seen me going up there with Timmy, too. When I went up to drive this thing, they, their PR guy asked me to if I wanted to have a go. And I used to have a Hummer, and my Hummer was such a fucking hunk of shit. And All Hummers are hunks.
They're
of shit.
terrible. Yeah.
And these guys, I was like, there's no way this is going to be any good. And I mean, look, it's still a Hummer. They haven't totally transformed it, but they do a lot to it. And I actually think that their turnkey price of $210,000 is actually reasonable for what you get. You get a fucking 1,000 pound of torque Duramax. You get a new transfer case where you can put it in rear wheel drive. So no Hummers ever, stock Hummers could ever go into rear wheel drive. This one can. And they changed the steering system. So it's like a lot better. It's like almost as good as what Icon uses. Not quite. Icon has magic steering. I don't know how they do that, but like this is pretty close. And they beast the fuck out of these things. They really do a really, really nice job. And me and Timmy went out and had the best time. We beat the fucking balls off this truck. If anyone out there buys number 5, that's the interior. If anyone out there buys number 5, I beat the piss out of it. But I had a really good time and it worked.
Did you go climb all the stuff in Hungry Valley?
Yeah. We didn't like push it in terms of like, can it climb this? Can it climb this? Because it's not. These guys' goal wasn't to say, well, if the stock Hummer can get over a 3-foot barrier, we needed to get over a 4-foot barrier. That's not what it was about. It was literally about unshitboxing it, which they told me everything they did, and it seems very hard. If you ever seen a picture, Zach's got a picture up of their interior. If you've ever seen the picture of the standard Hummer interior, it's gone. They completely remove it. It's all injection molded plastic and shit from GM. They take out the whole interior and remake the entire thing, so it has more leg room, it has more shoulder room. It's a basic interior in the same sense that an Icon truck's interior is basic, but the materials were nice. And
look at that trans tunnel. Wow.
Yeah, and they've shrunk it. That's the smallest possible cover they could put on it. With the GM one was actually bigger.
It's like a dinner table between driver and passenger seat, dude. It's so wide.
But they also has like electric air conditioning and has dual front and rear, units, and it has like a better heater. It has a what do you call it? A heated windshield. It has inverters and a compressor, and honestly, I think they were great guys. I think they're selling a good, honest product, and I think they were very thoughtful about how they executed it. And the one they brought me to drive, like they literally take it apart to the frame rails to nothing, and they upgrade every part. But like. The one they brought me like didn't have a bunch of chotch and shit on it. Like you can get it with all that like stuff bolted on it, but they were like, no, we just wanted to give you kind of a basic one, and it was pretty sweet. Like if you don't like Hummers, it's not gonna.
It won't sway you. But
it won't sway you.
Them,
but if you like the idea of a Hummer, because like if you think about it, like an Alpha, a decent Alpha is $150,000 right now, and that's the best a Hummer's gonna get. And this is better than an Alpha. So there you go.
And more streetable, rear-wheel drive.
They doubled the stock Hummer's fuel economy because they start with a 1995 to 98 Hummer. And so with this powertrain and the two-wheel drive option on the transfer case, they double the fuel economy. They take 200 pounds out of it. They make a lot of significant improvements.
What's it like? You can do like 70 on the highway and you're okay?
Dude, I made them chase me back to the office. I didn't drive it on the highway. Okay. But I know how they were, and I was in my Mercedes coming back from Hungry Valley, and I was maintaining allegedly 85 to 90 on the highway, and he was keeping up. That, Zachary, is a drift Hummer.
What?
Oh,
and it exists.
Why?
And it has the same powertrain as the other one. It's rear-wheel drive, and it's on a more street suspension and street wheels and tires, and it drifts.
I mean,
and they said
why?
I can have a go. If we want to go to Detroit, we can go to M1 Concourse and drive that on the drift circuit if we want.
We should go there in Detroit Speed.
Yeah.
Just make it.
Detroit Speed's not in Detroit. Detroit Speed's in Mooresville, North Carolina, home of NASCAR.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, they're awesome too.
They are.
I'll
amazing.
go see Kyle and Stacey Tucker any day. But drift. Oh, here it is. Yeah, drift Hummer. This was
great.
it before they put the other wheels on it.
It looks way smaller. Is that?
Huh? That's a drift Hummer. That's it. That's a regular Hummer.
It is, okay, far away it looked really tiny.
Yeah, they started with a military one for drift Hummer, so it's got the cloth doors and like that's what the standard interior looks like. It's fucking garbage.
What a weird idea, but yeah, it makes sense. People are buying them, driving around, and they suck. So
they know that like no one's expecting anyone to daily drive a fucking Hummer, but like most people have them as like their fifth car at their giant like Montana estate or whatever, and like because of that they do all the marine stuff, the battery cut off and all the marine fittings. Like they make it so it's okay if it sits for a couple months at a time. So I just think
nice.
I think they were thoughtful about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's if you're not into Hummers, it's not going to sway you. But if you are like, oh, I like those, but they were complete shit boxes, like here's one that it actually isn't. And there's a video coming out.
I appreciate the non-shitboxing of cars. Like
So
you had
hard.
you had a DMC Stage 2 DeLorean where because I never driven one of those cars. So like a regular DeLorean's a terrible car, and then DMC one is like it becomes a little bit closer to what the original vision of the car was.
Yeah, totally. And it's really hard to unshitbox one of those too. It took a lot of money to do that. With my Mustang, it was actually like not possible. Like it would have been a $200,000 car. Like unshitboxing is very, very hard. It's very hard. So props to those guys for doing it. For those of you who were here last episode, I'm sorry you got to hear 20 minutes about those things twice, but I bet you they'd be fucking super stoked to come out to Proving Grounds and let Lee just hammer the snot out of that. Those guys would be about that shit. They were super stoked. When I took that thing out and was like doing donuts in front of them, they were like, woo! They were fucking cowboys.
That's very
guys.
good. That means it's built, it'll be fine.
Yeah. It was very good.
There's some tuning companies where they're like, okay, you just can't do XYZ, and you're like, okay, well, why?
No, they said I could have it for a week if I wanted, but I literally, it would take up all 4 parking spaces in my garage. I couldn't fit it in the garage unless I kicked out every other car. It's so silly.
Not worth it.
There's some bro who probably sells Herbalife or whatever.
Yes.
Who has a black 90s non-alpha Hummer that he rolls around New Rochelle, and I just see him driving up and down the streets in New Rochelle in this black Hummer, and I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Is it a wagon by any chance?
It is.
If it is, it might have been my old one.
Really?
Mine was a black 2001 H1 wagon with really dark tints on it.
Oh my God, your car
It could
might
have
be
been
a
mine.
Neuro.
It could easily have been
That
mine.
describes it.
Yeah. So, I want to see if third row, second from the left. That is exactly what my truck looked like. Take off the fog lights from the roof.
Yeah, this has LED fogs.
It was
on top.
I mean, I haven't seen it in a while, but basically that's what mine was. It's the I did think the wagon was the best. There's actually quite a lot of room back there.
Did you just have the super bumper?
It didn't have the brush guard on it either.
Why?
Mine had a regular brush guard, but not one that like it didn't go up the hood like that. Pull up that interior on the bottom right, just so those who are watching like that. Look at that fucking injection molded garbage. Like there's so much extra shit.
There's a lot going on.
There's so much going on. Like you see how low the dashboard goes. Like your knees would smash into that. The parking brake handle on the right would hit your right knee. Like that whole assembly of plastic around the shifter would go right into your right leg, and so it was super uncomfortable. So the mil-spec guys, by removing all of that, created a cabin that had a lot more room in it. So that was nice. Yeah, see if you can pull up the driver's side again. There, yeah. See that? See how much less pull that over.
There we go.
For the audience. So there's the stock Hummer, and then you see how much less like extra bullshit material there is down there. It makes a big difference.
Well, I mean, look at the steering wheel. You just look at the eye line. Like they took off 3 inches from this HVAC, conduit for all the air. Which is, wow, what a mess. There's just a lot happening in there. There's a lot going on.
That tan awful one is exactly what mine looked like.
Oh,
fucking brings me back.
I mean, it looks like an airplane cockpit, but this car really does like 4 things. So I don't understand why there's like. I mean, I guess you can inflate and deflate the tires, right? It's got the central air inflation.
Yeah.
HVAC.
So mil-spec does not use the central tire inflation system. I was just really disappointed when they told me that. Like CTIS is sort of a trademark of Hummer.
yeah.
And I was disappointed when they said that they don't use it. and they said that they tried and tried and tried all these different suppliers, all these different they tried everything they could think of. They just couldn't get it to work reliably, and mine fucking didn't work right when I had mine. And they said they even bought a Mercedes 6x6 to benchmark their thing, and they said it failed twice on the 6x6.
I believe that.
Like they said, you know what? People don't really use it very often, and instead we just have a really diesel air compressor and a 50-foot hose, and most people are happy with that. So they said if you really want it, we'll leave it in the donor truck, like that. We'll leave it installed, but he's like, nobody does. So all right, cool, whatever.
I mean, that is an incredibly complex thing to engineer and to try to make it last all the time. I mean, here's some others on like buses that they run extra. Is this how the Hummer works? It runs an extranal.
Fuck no,
hose?
it's in the hub. No, it goes in.
Yeah,
it goes in through
how
the
long?
hub.
That seems like something that's not.
So
gonna
look,
last
I had it. It was working when I bought my truck. Within the first month, a fitting failed. And here's how you know it's failed, by the way, because you come out to go to work in the morning and your truck is sitting on the fucking hubs, and you think someone has slashed all 4 of your tires. And if one fitting goes, the whole system goes.
Because it has to be tight. It has to be airtight the whole way around.
Yeah, you can't. If you get one flat tire, it'll deflate the whole other 3.
Yeah, you don't want that. I wouldn't want that either.
And so each wheel has a manual CTIS disconnect. You take off the hubcap, and then there's a pin you pull out, turn it, and close it back in, and that seals off that wheel from the CTIS system. And so you can, if you want, disconnect all 4 wheels, and now you just have normal wheels.
I think that's the way to go.
That's what I did.
Yeah, that's probably the smart.
Yeah.
No, I would just. I like their external compressor move. That way it makes way more sense.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to have to warranty that kind of a system. So as far as fucking proving grounds go,
yeah, I'm just gonna ask for cars from you. I'm just gonna be like, what?
Oh, I get, dude. You know, I've stopped driving normal cars. I only drive. I'm like Torchinsky now. I only drive the weirdest shit. But what's some other stuff on your dream cars list for proving grounds?
Ooh.
Do you want like well-rounded stuff, or do you want cars that are going to have trouble with these obstacles?
I just want weird things. I want a stair car. For sure.
Airport stair car,
100%. Because of the weight, I did want a crash fire truck, the Oshkosh airport fire trucks, the Strikers, because I've been in one of those, and that thing's awesome, but it might weigh too much for the track. Those are concerns.
It would really mess the track up, yeah. There's probably a weight limit for a racetrack asphalt, actually, right?
There is, and
I wonder if I guess if that little fire truck, what's the fire truck weigh?
No, the fire truck's not that much. I think the fire truck's...
I don't know, 6,000 to 10,000 pounds.
Yeah, I think 10 on the
that's a beast. I like that very much.
A striker. We might do a story for hopefully we'll talk about Apex because it's part of the reason I came over here.
Oh,
we should talk about Apex, but I want to do a story on that. That has not worked out. I want to do an ambulance just to see what it would be like and all the stuff flying in the back. I'm like you. I want to do weird stuff. It's fun to get. It's interesting to see.
You got to get Bothwell to get a Model T out there for fun. Right?
That takes so long.
Or
It'd be several minute laps.
But that would be fun. Or have him bring out one of them like pre-war shits. Like let him fucking mob a Bugatti Type 35, because you could probably get some dirt. You could probably drive that through dirt.
That might make it because of the tires.
It would, because the tires and the positive camber and all that shit. A Bugatti Type 35, I think, would make it through the dirt shortcut.
I would love to put a 35 through the dirt. Someone would give us one.
You know what? He could probably bring out the Super T race car. He's got a Model T race car that goes like 75 miles an hour.
That would be. This would get stuck, I think.
You don't think that would make it through some silt?
I don't think.
It gets deeper, so it would. I think it would high center.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
But the racing T would make it probably, because those are much taller.
Yeah, the Model T's on big ass rims. It's got some big old tires.
Yeah, Matt likes really weird cars. When we talk about like what we want to get or like buy, and you just throw out like 1978 Volvo, whatever the hell, or. I don't know. You come up with some really obscure things.
Yeah, I mean, I
like... You want a Volvo 780 Bertone like the rest of us.
Of course. I almost bought one. I went to the guy, I had cash in my pocket, and then he was like, well, it stopped running today. And I was like, no, because I want a turbo, but this guy had the one that has a PRV V6, the same V6 that's in the DeLorean.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I love the way it looks, but I can't pull the trigger on I'm only going to get a Bertone if it's got the turbo.
Isn't that lovely? I think that is a really good looking car, and I think if I was going to do an LS swapped Volvo, this is the one I would want want to do. I know everyone wants the wagon and whatever, but I think
You mean my car? Everybody wants my car.
dude, I think the LS swapped 780 is where it's at. Make it nice and quiet. Not a lot of exhaust.
If you block the front of this car from vision, it looks like a E30.
Yeah, it also looks like a Maserati bi-turbo. Looks like every European car of the late 80s.
Yeah, it's great. It's perfect. I love those wheels. I love everything about it.
Yeah.
My Volvo. I think we have a picture of it.
That's Matt's
Oh,
car.
you have
mine.
a 240.
Yeah,
Oh,
I had a
shit.
93.
Is that a classic? It's a 240 classic.
No, it's not. It's a 93 Ruby Red. And so I wanted a classic, but I couldn't find one I could afford. But I found a 93 Ruby Red. So it's got the oil squirter motor. It's got the GM built AC that doesn't actually brake. Because this is my second 240.
I had a 240. I had a 240 I couldn't kill. I tried to kill and couldn't kill. An 85. I bought it for $265. It was glorious.
85, so it's got the quad rectangular headlights. Yeah, those are good. Yeah. Because I had an 86 and it had the aquarium headlights, and the 93's got the aquarium style headlights.
240. Is it still nice to drive? I remember it being very nice.
Great.
Is it still
Yeah,
good?
I mean, I put in slightly stiffer poly bushings in the front. Basically, anytime something breaks in the car, I just put in something slightly nicer. So it's got the turbo exhaust, which is to say, at least one fewer resonator, little stuff here and there.
It's
and
not a turbo.
Great.
Is it a turbo?
No, it's not.
okay.
It's just the NA.
It's an auto or a 5-speed?
It's an auto. That's the thing. I found the car. I wanted the 93 and I wanted the Ruby Red one, and I couldn't afford a classic because there were very few for sale, and people wanted like $12,000. And I just thought it was nonsense. Now my next car though is probably going to be a 242 coupe.
I understand.
Manual turbo.
I understand.
That's the car that I want.
Yeah. What's the name of that awesome shop down in San Diego, Zach? Remember? When we went to go film that dude Tony's Eclipse, we made the fake drug commercial about the Eclipse. We met him at a Volvo tuning shop in San Diego.
Wait, Yoshi Fab?
Yeah.
Oh, Yoshi Fab. Those guys do
Yoshi
great
Fab.
stuff.
Yeah, and
Those
they
guys
made
do great
really
things.
fast Volvos.
Yeah.
They turbo the fuck out of those motors, right?
Yeah, I mean they're tough. You can get a lot of
Yeah, that was
yeah.
them. Yoshi Fab. Yeah, in San Diego. If you got an old Volvo, call these guys. They had some dope projects going on
I think
down there.
they still exist. Yeah, not just you got to get the IPD stuff too. No, I want to do a Safari 242.
Perfect.
Diesel
Love
springs,
it.
because if
Ooh.
you get the diesel springs on the diesel wagon springs on 242, you get another inch.
Oh, you really?
And so which is enough. And so yeah, I mean, I tell Lee this because Lee's on the show, and Lee just looks at me and in his sort of Georgia way, and it's like, cool, and then walks away from me.
it's not as good as a Safari 911, but I see the appeal fully.
I got to put a kid into college.
You
yeah.
should rally car everything.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think having cars do things that they're not supposed to do is more fun than doing.
Zach, give me a picture of a 242 rally car Volvo because it looks amazing. It's such
great.
a beautiful rally car. One of the best press launch. Yes, look at that. The second from the left. Oh, that's fire. The Swedish flag across the hood, the BBS wheels. That fucking rules.
They ran a Marlboro one. There's a Marlboro livery 242, and it's perfect.
I like
It's
that
just
very
perfect.
much. Yeah, no, that's a great shape as well. You want the Turbo 4 in that right?
Yeah,
that's
of course. That's the way
That's
to go.
what everybody goes with. If you wanted to do a modern engine in one, is the LS really your go-to or
302s. They a lot of that's the setup. No,
I've had enough fucking Fox bodies. The 302 ain't that great. Coyote maybe, if you could fit it. Oh, the Nordica livery rules.
As an engine, the 5.0 is it's okay.
It's not
but
a
it's
great
easily
engine.
accessible, and it's around, and the mods are plentiful, and it's not expensive. I totally
if
get
I was going to
why
spend the
people
money
use
to
it.
put a V8 into something, I would put an LS before I'd put a fucking 302.
But how much is a 302 versus an LS?
The difference would be worth it. Having owned a lot of 302s, the difference is worth it because you pay the same amount of money to physically get it in. The only difference is the cost of engine, and you know what I mean.
And depending on if someone else makes mounting plates, I'm sure they make it for both now. But you could get a iron block LS for nothing, and if you're running these diesel springs, that might work.
True.
I mean, if I had unlimited money, because I'm weird, I would probably do an EcoBoost 4.
You don't have unlimited money. You work for television.
I know,
We
right?
both do.
We are the least paid
Wait, are you
people
guys
in television.
not rich? Is it just me? No shit.
Well, I
We
spent all
are-
my money on the helicopter.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Damn
I mean,
it.
it's broken and it's a toy. But
Yeah, and Hardegree bought that yacht with the other yacht inside it.
Yeah, the mini yacht. Yachtception.
Yacht with yacht. Oh, look at that 2
Yeah,
foot.
we are the
God,
underpaid
is that,
television.
That's fantastic.
That's
Look at
very
that with the
clean.
wing on it like that. That's It's got that NASCAR kind of lip happening in the back. That's great.
They're the best cars.
Shit, you know, I've been thinking my next daily should be a fucking E30, but maybe
No, fuck that. Volvo 242.
Well, you had an E30 as a daily. Is it not something I want to do? Oh no, that wasn't you. That was Patrick. That was
We're
the
all
other
same.
Jalopnik editor.
The other Jalopnik
Sorry.
editor.
I think they're great.
I think
E30s, they're awesome.
A 325 IS.
My brother had one of those for
Lovely.
years, and it was great.
Yeah.
The visibility's awesome. Rear bias.
So
It's fun.
obvious, though. Come on.
Obvious things are obvious for a reason.
How's your Volvo wagon, parent?
I don't need.
It's great. It's so slow. It is so
Right.
slow.
Oh,
Even
man.
a 242
I like-
turbo slow.
Yeah, but God, they look fucking cool, man. You have to be a very specific age and demographic to think a 242 turbo is cool. But if you are, you're like,
I am not that demographic. I don't think. It's
you
like,
don't think a 242 turbo? Is cool?
I think looking at it right now and seeing what it's doing, and it's modded and it's got a wing, like it's cool. Like you said, it's cool to see things that shouldn't be doing this. But when I look at it just like aesthetically and from a design, I'm like, that's not a good looking car. You know, the back, it's got a little bow to it, which is nice. You know, the front to back, it's got a little bit a taut line with the lip spoiler. But I mean, the front is just like, it's garbage. It's like a K car.
No. Oh.
It's like a
I'm making you
K-car.
sleep
That's
in the
funny.
couch this time.
I already
Very
volunteered
funny.
to do that after last time.
Oh, yeah,
That's
that's
very
right.
funny. Speaking of rallying, do you guys see that fucking awesome ice concours in St. Moritz? Ted Gashu
Yes.
was fucking
Oh.
all up in that business.
Wait,
It was on Jalopnik. It was like Jalopnik's.
It was on
performance today.
Jalopnik, but it was also on it's like all over Instagram. Like every car account is like stealing everyone's photos because I guess in St. Moritz they decided to have a concours on the ice. And
Sure.
everyone's been saying on a frozen lake, but all these cars are driving around a horse racing track with snow on it. This is
That
a
makes
horse
sense.
racing track.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like the concours on the lake was one thing and then the driving on the ice track was another thing. But like pretty fucking cool pictures of these cars mobbing on ice.
Pretty
Just
cool.
like
you could tell that
Lancia
all of them were
037s
on
and
like
stuff.
street, like all season or performance tires
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they couldn't get any grip because like, the tires are huge and whatever. But it was cool. They were going slower than I was expecting. I thought they were like putting on ice studs and racing.
Well, because when you turn it into a GIF on Instagram, then it makes it look a little faster than it really is.
But it was just really just like wheel spin.
But how awesome is the idea of a cold concours? I think I'm really into that. I think the idea of having a concours on a frozen lake is pretty fucking rad, and I could get down with that.
You just need an ice racing course also.
You also, I mean, 100%. You need an ice racing course also. That's like a given.
Okay, Canada. Let's do. I want to do a winter proving grounds. I mean, one of the most fun that I've ever had is we did the shoot where we asked because Consumer Reports has a test facility in Connecticut, and they have like a team that keeps it plowed 365 days a year.
Yeah.
So there's never snow on it because they do testing all year round. And I was just like, guys, just don't plow it.
Give us one day.
And they did it, and we just drove up. We had an AMG wagon, we had an E63 wagon, a WRX STI, RAF's terrible Baja Bug, like an SVR Range Rover, and we just drove the shit out of the cars on the and a BMW the Jalopnik Spec 2 Series, and we just went on the and they left us about 3 or 4 inches of snow.
Perfect.
They plowed it down, and it was ideal. And we just did that until we had to drive home, and we lost light, and it was
Monticello
amazing.
had a proper snow track day as well.
Yeah.
We went to me and Tom Morningstar went to the first ever Monticello snow track day, 2008, I think it was, with a press car.
Oh.
With a press A4 wagon.
Oh, I know this story.
And I did not crash it, but I almost crashed it. But they just pull up Monticello's Instagram, Zach. They're having like serious, like they plowed it properly, nice. They set it up with like, and Chris Duplessis was out there like mobbing some dude's like E-Type on studded tires. I think you have to scroll down on their Instagram a couple weeks ago. I don't know what that is.
This is Monticello Casino and Raceway. It's something else.
No, it's Monticello Motor Club.
Those guys know how to have fun. I mean,
They're great.
This is again,
Nat Mundy's in that bitch now. Nat, you know Nat? He started Grand Prix New York, the go-kart track.
Yeah, of course. We did the Tangent Vector. So Tangent, for people who don't know, this is deep, but Tangent Vector is the production company behind all this stuff that Zach and I work at, and we did our end of year corporate bonding retreat.
Oh, nice.
At
GPNY?
At GPNY, and then JF put me into a wall. Dipshit.
I won the men's league there, 2009.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a little bit of a weight penalty relative to other people. So
I was mobbing though.
JF tried to sandbag and like pretend like he'd never driven there, and then we found out he would like, it was in the league.
Yeah.
Or some shit like that. We're like, get the fuck, you know. And
That was my first time, guys.
and we found out like way before the first race, so he was just acting like, oh yeah, we go around that way, and I just walked. I was like, you're in the league here, we know it now. And he's like, no, I drive a little. Like, you're so full of shit. So full of shit.
Funny. Oh man.
I can't find Chris's place. I'll find it.
Whatever. Oh, snow driving. Yeah, you'll find it. Yeah, you'll find it in Chris's. What else is happening, Hardegree?
Apex. So I should talk about this because
is this the Apex 1?
Apex 1.
What
let me
the
explain.
fuck is Apex 1?
Apex.1.
Yeah, what is that?
For your internet listeners. Apex, we've got the manifesto up there. All good things start with the manifesto.
Everyone's doing manifestos these days. They're very hot right now.
It's
There's a
in.
human driving manifesto. Now
Get the people in line.
The Unabomber did one. Now this.
His was great.
Oh, his was the best. I mean, we're all just trying to live up to the Unabomber's manifesto. I think, you know, so we have this issue where we have really kind of great access to what people are doing in the car world. We know pretty far in advance sometimes what's going to happen. We have stories we want to tell, and we have art that we want to make. But television is wonderful, and we have a great relationship with NBC Sports. But like, you know, there are constraints with sports TV that you run seamless. You don't run credits at the end. You know, you can only have a certain number of blocks. You have to have commercials. It's going to be 22 and a half minutes. There are limitations, and so this is basically Apex is our. Working from the first film, Apex Story of the Hypercar, is our chance to tell all the stories that we want to tell and do all the work that we want to do without any limit. There's no commercial advertising. There's no, you know, this has to be this long. You know, this is us telling transportation stories the way we want to tell them. And the only limits are the amount of money we have, because we're self-funding it, and then the time we can give to it in between doing TV shows and commercial projects. And so we're just taking the extra time and the money we have and getting our friends to do things that they want to do that other people will not pay them to do. So, like, for instance, Mark.
Oh, wait, so is this a YouTube channel or an editorial?
It's purely editorial.
Uh-huh.
And so we're going to tell stories in feature-length films. So we have the second film coming out, which we should talk about. And I have some news there that I can share. We have short films. So
I think I'm in it, unless I got completely cut out, which is totally possible.
No, we just saw a cut. You're in it.
Am I in it still?
You're in it.
They left me? All right.
We got some fair action. Right. We've got short films, so we've already got we've got some really great stuff coming out this week at Geneva. You'll see some short films that we've shot. We have a crazy one with Lewis Hamilton coming out in a couple of weeks, which is going to be amazing. And so just
that you shot.
That we have, that we put together, and that's going to be awesome. And so we've got these great stories. And it's all just focused on future transportation. It's like, what's the peak, kind of with the first film with Apex Story of the Hypercar, what is the peak of transportation? But we're not just doing cars, we're doing aviation. So we've gone on the world's longest flight.
I know where this is going. This is so JF gets to do plane nerd shit.
And me.
I understand.
Yeah.
There are a lot of plane nerds in this company. I am the one who's not. I am the outlier for sure.
No, I got a room over here so I can watch planes land at LAX.
I thought, JF told me that he had a goal to jack off on the 10 longest flights around the world globally. He said I will blow one load per flight.
Well, stay tuned, folks, because he did the world's longest flight, Singapore and we actually talked to. So, like, I don't want to give too much away from the article, but we talked to Singapore Airlines about all the things that they had to do to make the flight work. And what's funny is that the engineering is not the exciting part of that, because people run flights that are 19 hours or 20, like accidentally, like people are in planes for 20 hours.
Yeah, like a flight that's like 15 has to stay in for weather or whatever. Yeah.
JF was in a plane for a full day because he's flying all the time. He got stuck for like 24 hours in a stupid plane, and so because of weather,
I remember. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So they have
yet
that.
He still flies on United. I don't.
Well, that's
okay. You say that, but our flight on Delta from Florida back was delayed like an hour, right? And both of our
I'm not saying no flights ever get delayed.
No,
that happens.
I think they're all equally good and bad, and so whenever people are like, this airline sucks, or mine are, I'm like, they're all the same,
not
dude.
a
They're
week goes by that JF isn't shitting on United on Twitter. Not
I don't
a
think they like
fucking
him.
week.
I haven't had a problem with him in like 2 years. I think they don't like. Maybe they are trying to get rid of him. I don't know.
It's not a week.
It's
that
like they're
goes
trying to
by
get him to
that-
break up with them. Like if you guys saw Love, like in the pilot
like
for that
he
episode,
could
they're
just
cheating
stop
on her.
flying United. Like that's all he's got to do.
No, he's stuck. He's
Why is
so
he stuck?
invested with miles and everything. He's
Fuck
stuck.
out of here. Spend the miles and then leave.
No, I think it's.
You have to suck it at his rate. You suck it up for 6 months. 6 months, you have no status. At the rate he flies, he'd be fucking platinum in 6 months.
That's actually true.
That's true, but he lives by Newark. It's an abusive relationship. I'm not getting
Hannah
into
just
it.
made platinum in what? It's March 1st. Hannah made platinum in January and fucking February of this year.
That's awful.
Boss move.
Ugh. The real status, the real luxury is not having to fly so often that you get the status.
That's true.
That's my
That's
belief.
true.
Because I was like looking at Mosaic last year, and I was looking at the number of flights I would have to do because I do JetBlue mostly to get up there, and I was like, oh, not worth it. I'm just gonna stay home. It's just
Well,
not-
you got to link it to a credit card that you use for most things, and then it's
Yeah.
way easier to get status.
That's true, but then I'm stuck with. I don't want to be in the JF position of like having the credit card and being stuck. So we're on the Points Guy podcast. Who gives a shit? Anyway, so we're doing
Whatever.
we're doing this. He flew the longest flight, but anyway, so Singapore Airlines was interesting talking to them about their philosophy behind it, and it's a lot less about the engineering for them and more about making people like happy and not miserable because they have people who do this flight frequently.
like like work people.
Yeah, he'll do
it's
it-
Singapore to where?
It's Singapore to JF or Singapore to Newark, and it's 19 and a half hours. And so they only run 2 classes, so it's just either like the super first class or
Yeah.
the premium class.
Yeah.
And
That's a good idea.
yeah, and the great thing, and like they have a special menu, and they have like exercises to get people from like freaking out. But my favorite thing about this is that an average, and I've done a Singapore Airlines flight on the A380. It has like 1,100 hours of in-flight entertainment.
Okay.
But they did the math, and they're like, oh, if somebody's flying this like every couple of weeks, they're going to run out.
Yeah.
And so it's the most of anyone. They have like 1,600 hours of in-flight. They load up extra and it's just like little stuff that makes the flight
thoughtful.
possible. And so that's like an interesting. They're doing something that no one else is doing and trying to do this flight. And it makes sense because of the way airline rules work and everything. But it's kind of like the little neat steps that people take to make these things happen that we're sort of trying to capture with Apex. And then it's just cool shit that we want to do. Like, Mark Urbano, like the great car photographer, does all the Car and Driver covers that you see and love, or most of them, has wanted to do a monochromatic series where he puts cars, because we're always looking contrast. Like car photos are always about contrast.
Yeah.
And he wants to do cars matched up with the color, monochromatic, so black cars and black backgrounds. Green
Yeah,
cars.
someone actually asked me to do that exact thing.
Really?
It wasn't Mark, but someone asked if they could do a studio shoot with my Countach, and I said, to be perfectly honest, since I bought that thing, like fucking every LA car photographer has come out of the woodwork and asked to do a shoot with it, and I don't actually need anything, so it's not, I don't care. So I've kind of been not a dick about it, but I've kind of been like, nah, you sell me a bit because I don't really care. And one guy said he was going to rent a whole studio and paint the entire seamless red, and then I said, okay, if you do that, I'll bring it down for that. But it wasn't Mark Urbano, and I never heard from the guy again.
It's a good idea.
If he wants to do that, I will provide.
Okay.
I'll provide the car for that.
I think that'd be great because it has to fit
Just
within the Apex
volunteer it.
ethos of being at the extreme of something. And I think obviously a Countach fits within that. But we have I don't want to give it away, but we have an Obsidian painted car, Obsidian being lava glass, in a lava field. So we drove it out to a crater.
Oh, that's fucking cool.
And so the photo's amazing.
Hawaii or Iceland?
No, there's one here in America that has there's an old lava field, and so we drove the car in the lava field.
Actually, I feel like I've seen that somewhere.
Yeah, it's not
that far from here, right?
Not that far from here.
No, I know where it is. It's not a super. It's off the 395, right? It's up on the way to Mammoth.
Yes.
Yeah. 395, if you must drive on a highway, is the most choice highway in California.
Except for all the speed traps as you go through the towns.
Only into the towns, though, but that's like common sense.
I know. It's there.
I'm going up. You want to go this weekend? Going skiing.
I gotta wait till my back gets sorted out.
Mammoth. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Dude,
How's your back?
I got an MRI yesterday, so we'll see.
All right. I hope
It's
okay.
fucking dumping right now.
I
Dude,
know. I'm so excited. Got my snow tires. I'm ready to go.
That's
next
amazing.
birthday. Going skiing next weekend. And my parents are here Friday, so I got to drive up, probably leave here at 8 or 9 p.m. Friday nights. I'm going to get up there late as fuck. Ooh. It's okay. I got them fog lights. Be good.
That'd be great. That's so awesome. That's going to be so much
jealous.
fun.
And then, a little bit of thing to share.
Mark Urbano, color thing.
It'll be cool.
Yeah, monochrome. That should be cool.
So just, I would say this, I've done the blogging thing, we've done the drive thing, which was great, but it was just pushing content. We're only making things that we know that we think we're going to be good. Will everything be good? Probably not. But we're going the slow approach. It's
but you're not making it because you feel it needs to be you have to constantly crank something out. You're just only making it because you think it's going to be good.
Yeah, and we've been working on it for a year and a
strategy.
half. So we have a backlog of things that we like that we've done. So that we basically could only launch once we had enough that in between all the shooting and doing the film and doing everything else, we could launch. And so we'll see. It's a completely different approach than I think many people have taken, and it's in a very kind of it's not really a white space, but kind of a gray space of, there's like people cover transportation obviously and technology and the intersection of both, and a lot of people do a really good job of it. And I did some stuff for Wired in that sense. Like it exists, but I think with this kind of like crazy nerdy monomaniacal focus on just the future of it, I think it'll be interesting. Hopefully,
I think it'll be cool. Like I look, I started a whole other show about watches because I couldn't talk about cars all day, and honestly, I'm trying to figure something else out because I'm almost over talking about watches basically. And so the idea of like I tried reviewing some boats. I had a really good time. The audience didn't really give a shit. Didn't really work out. But like, I get it. But the question is, I mean, I'm sure JF knows what the audience kind of wants. I feel like anyway, it's like, I come to you for this one thing. If I wanted to hear about that, I'd go over to that guy. You know what I mean? Like in like this fragmented world where everyone should quote stay in their own lane and just be the specialist and like do that one thing that I found you because you did this, and so you better keep doing this and don't change. Is this going to work out, this strategy of dipping your toe into everything?
It's not anything. It is transportation focused, but the focus, the first and foremost, is people who are trying to sort of, move things, objects, people, whatever, across the globe, across the galaxy, whatever it is. It's an engineering focus. It's how are they doing it? What are these kind of engineering stories? And so I think that the appeal is there are people who like cars because they're flashy and fast, and there are people who like cars for all sorts of reasons, historical reasons, weird reasons. Like me, mostly, I'm a kind of a car pervert, and that's fine. But I think that this is for people who care about the engineering and the science and those kind of stories. And I think that people who love planes and love tinkering on Pipers and things, that also usually love cars, and they love specific cars, and they don't maybe love, the new Jag, but they love, they'd love your Safari 911. And I think for people who love that kind of thing, and also our business model is not based on trying to get I've been there, of trying to get 1 trillion viewers. We don't want or need 1 trillion viewers. I want.
Well, so where does the money come from? If you don't want or need 1 trillion viewers, and you're not. Is it VOD? Is it video for purchase? So where does the money come from?
So we have two things. One, obviously we have the films, and we have which is not a huge money making proposition, but this does support sort of our creative efforts and people, and it does have a nice lifting effect with our commercial production. And also, I think one thing we're looking at is actually you had a tweet that I think was perfect about this, which is that no one I have ever met, or you have maybe ever met, has ever bought a really expensive car because they saw an ad in Rob Report, right?
Fucking oh my god!
Right? Why does Rob Report even? Like,
I don't know.
God bless him, but
I picked up an issue, and it was the car of the year thing. Like they had a car of the year in like Napa, and I guess they invite fucking random subscribers to come drive the cars, and they had a real big crash.
Yeah, it was very serious. Yeah,
people were hurt, and there's like a car of the year like expose, and it's very flowery and all this shit, and there's just zero mention of the $500,000 of cars that are written off and the injuries or anything. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and I have all sorts of feelings.
Look at that. Here's a fucking Ferrari 812 half up a tree. Look at the license plate. It says Rob Report on it.
That's perfect. And of course it's on the air. My thing.
By the way, in case you're wondering, the Ferrari 812 was not the car of the year. They also named the Urus the fucking car of the year, which I got to drive it. I'm excited about it, but I think your general point is I think that there's again, like maybe not white space but gray space. Not every car fits on Bring a Trail is great, but not every car is going to really fit. The auction system works out for certain people, and it's a good place to put a car, but it's not a good place for every car. And we think that there's probably a spot for a certain type of vehicle that would fit as a classified, and that's something that we're looking into. So as a classified or an auction?
Classified, because not everything works for an auction. There's certain cars you wouldn't sell, and there are just not a lot of places for certain types of of not even just cars, but just certain types of vehicles
Yeah.
for sale. And so we're looking into that. And we're developing a system. But for right now, it's just whatever money we can set aside and any time we can set aside. And
Is there a Patreon or something? There should be.
Nah,
a Patreon might be
just
good.
read, just read and subscribe for now. That's all I really care about. Come watch the movie. Hopefully, when we have a distribution. Oh, okay, movie thing that I want to drop. Do you know who the narrator is? Did they tell you?
The narrator, yeah, they did, and I am blanking. Oh, it's Ice-T.
It's Ice-T.
Yeah, I got Ice-T to narrate it. Yeah, they when they told me that, I was like, that is a really good, really
perfect.
good one.
Yeah, so
I like Ice-T. He's the sweetest man,
very nice.
and Coco is the sweetest lady, and he's a car guy, and he's got a great voice, and he was probably willing to do it for free or cheap.
He was excited about the project.
Did someone get Seth to ask for the hookup? Seth probably made the hookup because Seth is we worked with Seth before out on Long Island. Did you meet Seth Rose?
I don't know that I know Seth Rose.
I drove his AutoZam for an episode of Tuned.
Excellent.
But he's like he's a big car guy out on Long Island. He like runs that car scene, and
The Long Island.
He and Ice-T are thick as thieves. Those two.
That sounds familiar. I might have been it. But anyways,
Seth's a sweet man. Yeah. No, that's so fucking cool. Ice-T's gonna do the narration.
He kills it.
oh, it's
He does a
great.
really
Oh,
good
I've
job.
heard.
It
Oh,
probably
it's
sounds
so
like
good.
New Jack City. Like he narrated New Jack. That's rules.
So Apex 2 Secret Race Across America, our good friend Alex Roy, it talks about all of the post Cannonball runs across America, the US Express guys, all of the crazy dudes hanging out in the back of Panteras. And it's because it really focuses on Alex's attempt because Alex put science. It wasn't just like crazy. I mean, there was some science. There's interesting approaches. in
He
the
really
80s.
did. It took a data focused approach to his run.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
about
nuts.
science, but certainly data.
Data, yeah, technology.
Yeah,
I mean, the car
yeah.
itself's very interesting.
Yeah.
And so, Apex 2 story, Apex 2 Secret Race Across. I came up with a stupid name. Apex 2 Secret Race Across America with Ice-T, which will and Matt Farah.
What's hilarious about Ice-T is he narrated. I forget if it was like the Bull Run, the commercial for the Bull Run TV show, and we used to goof on him about it. We used to be like, it's the outlaw race across the country with celebrities, and like we used to goof on him doing that shit back in the day, and now he's doing it for you.
That's actually a really good Ice-T impression. It's not too bad. Just pulling it
Of
out.
course. I used to goof on him with that shit. He was fucking great. JF changed his fucking tire on the side of the road.
Yeah.
He fucking blew a tire, Ice-T, on Bull Run.
What was he driving? Was it
Aston
Vantage?
V8 Vantage.
Right.
Yeah, and he blew a tire and he didn't have a jack. And JF had him drive up onto like a rock and used like a big rock to change Ice-T's tire.
Dang.
Drive
Seriously.
up on a rock?
Yeah, no, I forget how he did it. Like he had, what did he do? He definitely had the car on a rock. Now I don't recall if he used a rock as a jack stand or what it was he did with the rock itself. I wasn't there. I was driving a different car. But JF, well, next time we'll have him tell the story. He
Okay.
changed Ice-T's tire on the side of the road, and Ice-T was like his best friend for like 6 hours afterwards.
And then
was
did
very
our
funny.
movie. So it all comes around.
And then I tried to impress Coco and made a huge fool of myself. It was not good.
well, I would like to hear this story.
It's one of those bars where everything's frozen. The bar is called like 50 Below or something,
Sure.
and we're in Birmingham, Alabama, I believe it is. I think it's either Birmingham or what's the other nice city in Alabama? Huntsville? No, it's Birmingham. It's Birmingham, Alabama. And this bar, it's like an ice bar, and you put on these fur coats and you go in the ice room, and I'm hanging out with Ice-T and Coco and Tom Morningstar and everyone who's doing Bull Run. This is like 2010, 11, just like, normal folks. Mike Musto was there.
None of those people that you mentioned were normal.
Fucking
but yeah, continue.
JF was there, and we go into the ice room where you take shots out of a glass that's made of ice. And then the thing was, they had a wall. Of course, they had a wall. But you would take a shot, and then you'd huck the glass at the wall, and it would smash.
that's cool. All
It
right.
was actually like a very, very fun ritual. So everyone's in there with the big fucking fur coats and hey, Prost, and fucking hurling the glasses.
Mazel tov.
Yeah, just being drunk idiots. And I am talking to Coco, and we take a shot, and rather than huck the glass at the wall, I smash it on my forehead because I'm like, oh, yeah. And I cut my head.
Yeah.
And just bleed.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The horrified look on this poor woman's face.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Ice is really sharp.
Ice is very sharp, as it turns out. And it was like, oh, sweetie, let me help you. And it was just so shameful.
That's great. Oh, I would have killed it.
I hung my head in shame the entire rest of the time after that. It was fucking bad.
That's the Matt Farah that I thought that I would know. So, like, my first experience with you, if you remember this way back in the day.
2010 Matt Farah is a bit different than current.
We all were.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's some snot-nosed at Jalopnik just trying to get shit on people and talk shit about bull runners and gumballers as much as I possibly could. And I got your number because somebody crashed or something, and I was trying to get information out of you. And you were actually, like, very straight up about it. And I was like, because I had pegged you for, like, a total asshole.
Yeah, most people do.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm going to hate this guy. And it's been, like, a constant disappointment in my life that you're like a very genuinely nice guy. We get along. And also, politically, we agree. Yeah. Which, in this business, we know both Baruths, so it's a rare thing, and so you're just constantly disappointing me by just being decent. It's awful.
That's really funny.
It's fucking great.
Well, yeah. I hated. I told you this. Like, I hated Jalopnik when you were running it.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know you at all, but I just hated the headline. Like game you'd play,
the question marks.
And then when I finally met you and we started working together, I was like, by the way, I used to say these terrible things, and you're like, yeah. And then you told me like how much the site grew, and I was like, yeah, you're way smarter than I am.
300%.
Yeah. There was Zach's pride, and then Hardegree's money, Gawker's money.
No, now Hulk Hogan's money.
Hulk Hogan's money.
Somebody told me how much money
it's all
they
right,
lost.
brother.
Oh my God, I don't.
Enjoy your new little website, brother. I'm gonna get some whores and blow.
No comment. Been down that road before.
You know my dick looks like a Yeti mug, brother.
What God didn't give me in hair, He gave me in cock. JF says he drove the car up onto a series of rocks until he could get a jack under it because it was so low. Oh. And then he used a jack from something else on it.
Oh, it was too low because it was slammed. Yeah, it was too low to get the jack underneath it. That's what it was. Good job, JF.
I once, the sketchiest thing I ever did with a car trying to change a tire was a McLaren, and it was a 570 or whatever.
Oh wait, didn't the wheel fall off?
The wheel fell off with puppy knuckles.
Yeah,
and so we after, and the cop pulled him over and handed him one of the lugs, and so we didn't have a jack that would work for it, and so we just drove the car. I think this was Sorokonich's idea from Road and Track. We just drove that was the rear, I guess it was the rear right maybe. Just drove it off the side of like a ledge, so it was just hanging free off the side of the thing, and then we didn't have we only had 4 out of 5, so somebody had to drive it back, and I was like, oh, I'm in charge of this thing, so it's like it's on me.
Yeah.
To just like I'm sure the
4
car
is
is fine.
Pretty good.
4 is
4
pretty
tight
good.
ones, you'll get home.
I don't know that one of them was kind of threaded, so it was 3 tight ones and a 4th.
Yeah.
And I was just like, but then we had like another 250 miles to go because we were in the Vendacopa, so we were just as far out on Highway 33 as you can get. And that was sketchy. I wish we'd had JF.
He told us that story. It was crazy because the cop like handed him a lug. He's like, "Is this yours?" And he was like, "No." And
I don't think he told us that. I think that was in the car, not on the show. The backstory is
no,
he was
in the car,
driving. Dave Puppy Knuckles Burnett, photographer, formerly Jalopnik, now with Road and Track and many others. He's amazing. He was driving a McLaren and the fucking wheel fell off. That's the entire story.
Yeah, the wheel fell off. And he had not been. We'd all been driving that car all day. He had not driven it once.
Yeah,
and we had all gone ahead. To the place, whatever, the little restaurant in Vendacopa right there at the end of kind of the fun part of Highway 33, and he just disappeared for like an hour. And we drove like a Mazda back to find him, and then we just found him with like, you know, a detaching wheel. And I was like, what the fuck did you do to this car? We gave you the car for like a 10-minute drive. What happened? But no.
That was actually his quote. His quote from you was, what the fuck did you do to my car?
Yeah. Well, I was responsible. That was it was my press line.
I probably would have said the same thing.
Yeah, but it wasn't his fault. He was so sweet. He's such a sweet guy. It was not his fault. You know whose fault it was?
Where do you see his pictures from our 1,000,000-mile Lexus journey? His pictures are fucking sick. That guy rules.
He's the best.
Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
I don't know something.
There's his Hardegree cover. That's a good Hardegree cover. I love that all the cars in that picture. We got a Corvette Grand Sport. There's a
Roadmaster.
a Buick Roadmaster wagon. There's
Bronco.
a Bronco, a Ram SRT, a Pontiac G8, a Subaru WRX. There's a Fox Body, Celine, MR2. It's like our era is here.
It is. It's
Pretty
a
much.
great. It's
a good time to buy an 80s
I
car.
would own half of these. Yeah.
Oh, did you say I've owned half of these?
I would. I own half. I've owned one of them. And if we count the battle wagon, must have owned it, but I drove it probably more than he did, then that's two.
I think that counts.
Yeah.
I drifted the battle wagon, so I think it counts.
Oh, those are great. I love those cars. The only first generation MR2 I've ever driven is in Hungary, in Budapest. Some dude was like a fan. He's like, "Do you want to drive my MR2?" And I was like, "Yes, sure, why not?" We just burning up and down hills in Buda in that car. That was a great car.
Oh, speaking of drifting the battle wagon, Zach just made me think about this, and then we're getting to questions. You got 2 minutes to get your questions in on the super chat, and then we're going to shut that down because we're going to get to those at the end of the show, which is coming up very soon. So my neighbor Nick has a sick simulator setup. Like, it's not a full, it doesn't have like motion, but has everything but motion. It has a 6-speed shifter with a handbrake. It has like real hydraulic pedals. It's got that like the best, like the direct drive like steering system, and then the 3 monitors and like a Assetto Corsa and all the iRacing, all that shit. It's like the 6 sim. So at Assetto Corsa, this dude whose handle is Phoenix made the LA Canyons. He made the Angeles Forest in Assetto Corsa. Okay?
That's brilliant.
And he made it based in part on watching my videos. So he put, check this out, he put these Easter eggs in there, and I went to find them, and they're there. That's on Upper Big Tahunga Canyon Road in the game. That's my Fox Body being pulled over by the cops. And then there's these like smoking tire hot air balloons that you can see when you're driving up and down Angeles Crest. That one is right below the European Car Magazine turnout, as I call it. It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, he got the foliage right on this Upper Big Tahunga turn. I swear,
Dude, he got all of it right.
Amazing.
Driving the Angeles Forest in this game is exactly like driving it. He got the surface of the road right. Like, it gets a little rougher up by Newcomb's Ranch, and like you can feel that. So I got in the Countach on this.
Oh boy.
They have my car, and we reprogrammed the shifter for the dogleg first gear, which you can do.
Whoa.
And we made it just like, so I was driving the Angeles Forest, like drifting. It turns out the chassis dynamics for sliding a Countach are like really, really good. So me and Nick are like, this is amazing. And we're like drifting the Countach up and down Angeles Forest. It was like the most fun thing.
I bet, because you'll never do that in real life.
No, but it was like the sounds were right, and with the dogleg first gear, like the steering feel like felt pretty right, and like you can like lean on the brakes and like initiate a slide and then just like hammer down second gear, like right. It's really, really fun.
I bet. Yeah, that would get real addictive.
Yeah, I gotta see. I mean, I'm sure we can get videos of this, right? You can screen capture this shit, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'll get some videos that we can play on the show of what it's like to drift a Countach up Angeles Forest. It's extremely legit. It's very, very cool. So if you play Assetto Corsa, Phoenix Racing is the guy's handle. It's just called like the LA Canyons mod. Like, look for it, and it's the entire Angeles Forest playable. It's so like all the roads in the one takes, like they're on this map. You can just drive them. It's rad. It's fucking rad, man.
That's super rad. Also, it's nice that you get to drive your Lamborghini. It's nice that you'll get to experience what that's like.
Yeah, I do drive it. I drive it every week.
Really?
He does.
Yeah, I know.
He really
do.
Does.
I drive it every single week, but the Angeles Forest is far for me to. It's kind of annoying to drive there. I drive it in Malibu mostly, but yeah, I committed to driving it once a week, and so far, the more I drive it, the better it works. It works really good right now. It's fucking it pulls like a motherfucker right now. It's really nice.
I'm surprised.
How long are you in town for? You want to go
surprised.
for a ride?
Yeah, I would love to go for a ride.
It's really, really, really nice to drive. I enjoy every fucking second driving it. It's very fun. And for all the bullshit people talk about the clutch, my 911 clutch is heavier. My supposed daily driver. Questions? Ooh, we have a bunch. Could we zoom in, please? Thank you very much. Oh, Jorge says, how do I drink my coffee? Because he's drinking the Roasted Tire 3.0 after trying 2.0. Thank you for buying our coffee. Beeline Coffee. We have our own roast. Have you had some?
I don't drink caffeine.
Oh, you don't drink coffee. We have a decaf.
Oh, I would love to try the decaf.
Well, I'll get you a decaf.
I would
Slow Lane.
I will order you a bag of the decaf.
That's so sweet.
The decaf's called Slow Lane, I think.
That's right for me.
My dad doesn't drink decaf either, and he said it's very good. I put a little bit of whole milk and sugar in my coffee. That was his question. I know the purists won't like that, but fuck all them. Excuse me. Nathan, thank you for your donation. What is the next time someone will drag a log down Big Tahunga? Nathan, that log was being dragged down Little Tahunga, my friend. We haven't seen anyone drag any logs recently. Have you seen anything? Have you seen anything real crazy in the canyons in the last while? Like,
No.
Other than like, I got kind of close to hitting a deer recently, but like,
We saw deer in Florida. Canyon. I haven't seen anything in canyons other than it being like 36 degrees when I got up there, and I was driving
hit snow in the NSX video.
Yeah.
I hit snow. I was like, "What's this white snow?" Whoa!
I think I got fortunate in being so busy last month. I didn't plan any one takes because it snowed up there multiple times, and like the rain and the cold. When I went up there with that big block Chevelle, when we got there, it was 36 degrees, and all of us were underprepared and shivering. And get back in the car, and be like, "Oh, so how long did you buy the car for?" You had to like wait to warm up. For real, you had to wait to warm up until you could actually speak like a human being.
Yeah. I hope I see some more weird shit up there, but I haven't seen anything in the canyons in quite some
Just
time.
see a lot of condoms and beer.
True that, sir. You know what's really nice about the that Assetto Corsa as well? Like when I get to the big turnouts in the canyon, like huck it off, like just rip some fucking figure eights in the Lambo, and then fucking out. It's like, oh, I can't drive like this in real life.
Because that tarmac is more and more fucked up like every month. When I go up there, like I thought I could go up there and do donuts too, and I looked at it and it undulates a lot. It's cracked a lot. I'm like, this would just tear tires up.
Yeah,
it's not good.
Yeah. Keep it legal. Matt Campbell says, would we prefer an ND2, meaning the newest Miata, or a Fiesta ST? Mr. Hardegree?
ST.
I say ST. I haven't driven the newest Miata, by the way.
I drove the new Miata, and it's very good. It leans too much. I drove the new Club, and it still is too soft and leans too much, and I don't like that about it. Yeah, I'd go Fiesta. Engine's nice. The new engine with the more power is good.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. And the Miata is lovely.
Yeah.
But you have to be a little smaller than me. And you have to not want to carry very many things either.
Yep.
Yeah. Fiesta is actually like a usable for lots of different things car. Justin says, I asked on chat what to buy for $20,000. Everyone said a 5.0 Mustang, so I got a 2013 Track Pack. I have no regrets. Okay, cool.
Good car.
Good car. Even with the Track Pack, get yourself some brake pads, like some Hawk brake pads, like Street Track, and some .5 brake fluid, high temperature brake fluid, because the hardware is good on that, but you need the pads and the fluid to make the most of the hardware. And make sure that 2013 has a current set of tires on it. AP says, can we expect a watch and listen episode on Basil Worlds? Okay, so sorry. I'm a little hoarse. Update on Watch and Listen. The Watch and Listen podcast, check it out on YouTube or iTunes if you haven't done that. All the same shout engine as well, Watch and Listen podcast. I do it with my friend Cameron Weiss. It's about watches. We have like 48 episodes. The problem with it I'm having right now is I'm running out of things to say. Watches are cool and interesting, and there's a lot of crossover cars, but like they're not dynamic like cars. They don't evolve every year. I mean, I'm wearing a watch that's been in production for 10 years. Like, it's not like it doesn't, there's not, unless you want to get crazy nerdy, and I mean really fucking nerdy, I'm kind of running out of things to say. So I don't know what's going to happen with the future of Watch and Listen. I'm trying to find motivation for more things to talk about. I'm not talking about Basil World at the moment. Basil World is like the Geneva Auto Show for watches, pretty much.
And also in Switzerland, which is
and
nice.
It happens to also be in Switzerland.
Yeah, that's nice.
Makes sense.
Is there watch crime? I feel like watch crime is...
Watch crime?
I would listen to watch crime.
That's a good idea.
Well, like what do you mean? Like fraud or like theft?
Fraud, theft.
I don't know.
Copyright
Watch sex
infringement?
crimes.
I haven't
All
studied
of it.
watch crime. The faking is the funniest of the watch crime. The fraud and all that stuff. That's funny because
you could find individual stories of faking gone wrong. People get arrested for selling fakes, that kind of shit.
the
Find
best,
that got out of prison.
faking story that there is there's a guy named Frank Mueller, and he has a watch company called Frank Mueller, and they make a watch called the Crazy Hours. And the Crazy Hours is named the Crazy Hours because the hours don't go in order. The hands fucking bounce around.
Oh shit!
Right? It's FRANCKMULLER. Crazy Hours. Get it. The image of that is very fun. It's a super super funky watch. If it was a car, it would be like your fifth car. You know what I mean? It's fun. It's
like a spiker.
It's a fucking yeah, totally.
It's like a spiker in the VW Golf with all the colored doors and stuff.
It's a Harlequin. It's a Harlequin
Yeah.
spiker.
100%. So the hours bounce around. So Frank, so he figured that people would want to fake the fuck out of this thing, and if you had a fake that worked, the way it was supposed to, it would be a pretty convincing fake. And so Frank Mueller licensed the mechanism that makes the hours bounce around like that to the fakers. So he was like, it's going to get faked anyway, might as well get paid.
Wow.
So the fakers
Clever.
are using a genuine, they're probably knocking it off for cheaper than he does it, but they're using the design of the mechanism directly from the guy.
That's interesting.
I love that.
Yeah, but that was 35 seconds.
Right.
That wasn't 60 hours of fucking podcasts. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily worth exploring for very long periods of time. That's all.
I got it.
Unless you are a mega nerd, and there's podcasts that are on hundreds of episodes about watches because it's run by fucking mega nerds. So I don't know. Anyway. LFD blah 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 says, I'm looking into an early LS 460 or an EcoBoost Mustang convertible. Interesting comparison.
Often cross-shopped.
Often. I take many road trips, often in scenic areas. Your thoughts on both? Vinny Russo, who's living in my house right now, just brought up the other day that you can get an early LS 460 for fucking pennies. Apparently, well under $20K for a really nice early LS 460. So I'm with this dude. If you want to do a lot of road trips and miles, ain't nothing like a big Lex.
And just cut the roof off.
Sawzall.
Yeah,
Also
absolutely.
Sawzall.
Problem solved.
I'd say they only rent one of the cars in that list, and you want to buy the one they don't rent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better. It's more comfortable. It's more reliable. It's probably more reliable. All that stuff. It's better. It's way better.
Yeah. I don't see a lot of value in a convertible EcoBoost Mustang as an ownership experience. I think you should go with the Lexus.
And on a road trip, I mean, I don't like putting the top down in convertibles anyway, so I'm a little biased. But most of the time, when you're transiting between places, you're gonna have the top up, and it's gonna be louder than a hardtop.
Mm-hmm.
So
a Mustang convertible is not what you'd call a refined driving experience. I've spent time in those things. It's not.
But even
Not bad.
I did cross country in an R8 Spider, and the top was up for so much of that trip.
Yeah.
It's we're in Zion, top down, but for most of the time you're just and I would have been happier with the hard top.
I was driving on the track in the new Miata, and the top was up, but I had to look to make sure because it was so loud. I was like, no, okay.
The new Miata with the soft top that I drove, the ND, it was almost impossible to make a Bluetooth phone call because it was so loud.
Yeah, it's very loud.
I like taking the roof off the cars, but I like it when it's a fixed roof that comes down, like a Corvette with the remove. That's great.
Yeah,
that's the best. Yeah, I would say go with Lexus, my friend. Corey says, 2 quick questions. 1, any videos of my Vanquish on the channel? No, not really. And will I make one? No, not really. I don't really like making videos of my own cars. I do it if there is a need to do it. Typically some kind of a quid pro quo. maybe there's a tax advantage or something, but I don't like to be like, hey, look at my thing. And seeing as that car doesn't really fall in either of those circumstances.
It's not really your style, Parker. That's
when is Cletus McFarland and crew coming on the show? Never met them. If they're listening, hit me up. Let me know when you're in LA.
They build crazy shit.
They do. I'd like to have them, but I don't know them. So if they're in LA, let's get at it. Alan Stevens says, what is our opinion of an 06 Aston Martin Vanquish S with the auto gearbox? Should I wait for a manual? the manual's way better. Like, completely changes the game, transforms the car. It's a whole other ball game. The auto is horrible. You can either wait for a manual, or you could buy one and have it converted yourself. By the time you spend waiting for one to come up, you could own a car and have it over in England being converted. The resale values typically of those are, if you have a manual one, it's worth car plus gearbox conversion. What you lose is the shipping and your time. So, if one's been converted already, it's either a really good car or a really terrible car.
Depends on who converted it.
It depends on who converted it and what happened. Like, did someone buy it mega cheap and that's why it was converted? You know what I mean? So, whereas if you buy a great car, you might have a little better sense of the ownership history and things like that. I wouldn't want to own and drive one with the autos. So take from that what you will. Amit says, looking to visit Amangiri, Utah. The motherfucking best. Amangiri is a sick resort in Utah. It's very, 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 very cool. And she's trying to pick an airport based on good driving roads. Oh, I mean, your options are pretty much Vegas, Salt Lake City, and Phoenix. Amangiri's like by Page, Arizona, like by like Lake Powell.
Okay.
So your options are pretty much Vegas, Salt Lake City, or Phoenix, and Amangiri will pick you up in Las Vegas in one of their BMWs. They have a fleet of BMWs. They're press cars. They all have jersey tags on them.
Oh, excellent.
They have a fleet of BMW press cars there, and you can just grab them and go. So they'll pick you up at a 7 Series in Vegas, bring you back there, and then you can have a series, like a 6 Series or something to drive around while you're there. So that's what I would do. Okay, man. Okay, man.
That was remarkable advice.
I was just there. Fraser says, opinions on the Ford Inline 6 Turbo Barra engine.
I have never driven. I never even saw one of these cars until we went to New Zealand, and then we saw them around. But
Yeah.
we never got it here.
That's that's the Australian inline 6 that they had with the Falcon, I think.
Yeah.
I've never been in a car that had one.
Oh, like the Turbo Falcon Ute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
yeah.
because I drove that 2JZ Mustang, and everyone's like, "Why didn't he put a Barra engine in?" I'm like, because we don't get them.
you can't get them. It's there. You can't federalize those in any state in this country. I've never been in a car that had one, man. I'd like to. Next time we come back down there, it's going to be all fucking Utes and shit because we didn't do any of that last time we were down there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of JDM last time.
I got the answer for this next question.
All right, let's see. Most enjoyable 911 under 100K. Prefer to keep the back seat. Would be daily driven. Have a backup beater just in case. Coming out of an Alpha Giulia.
What's your answer?
There you go.
9972 GTS.
That's a good one.
$95,000. Perfect.
Are they $95,000?
I think maybe a little
maybe a little less.
Maybe a little less.
80 to 90. Yeah, that's a good one. 997 GTS. That's great.
9972.
Yeah. That would be a good one, or possibly 991 Carrera S. You know, with a sport chrono and whatnot, and like, I don't know if you can get a GTS under 100 yet with a turbo motor, but you can get
Probably very close.
Yeah, no, I'm with Hardigree. 9972 GTS manual. That's a lovely one. MB is Frenchie. Hello again. Is there a general guideline for percentage off for an exotic car with accident or paint work? 1 dB. I mean, no, like what he's saying is, like, if you're looking at 2 cars and one has had an accident or paint work, one would be
right.
X% less. Oh man,
I mean, it depends on the accident and the paint. Like,
there's so many factors,
Yeah.
right? How bad was the hit? Who did the paint work? What does it look like right now? Is it on the Carfax? Is it off the Carfax? It's a lot. I don't know.
I mean, he says 1 DB9 GT has no accident on Carfax. The owner paid for something out of pocket. Another had 2. I assume he means another thing has 2 things on Carfax. Well, to the next person you sell it to, if they see no Carfax, that's going to look more attractive than 2 Carfax reports.
Yeah.
Now
the cleaner the title for sure.
Unless if they find out that the one that has a clean title actually had a bunch of shit broken on it, that could look worse. But there's just so many variables.
Yeah, I don't think there's a general percentage off. Just accepted that it's going to be less, but I think there's a lot of gray area in there. Exactly how much.
This isn't like a Macy's sale where it's like 20% off everything.
Yeah, there's a red dot on it. You get
red tag event.
Sorry, man, that's the best we got. M4 Hand says, I really want a Tesla Model 3, but I'm spooked by Tesla's long-term prospects. I don't know if he's referring to the company or the cars themselves, but I don't want to be stuck with a $45,000 paperweight. Editorial, like anyone who owns a Fisker. Thoughts? I have an easy one. Lease. I mean, if that's the big deal, just lease it and then give it back.
That's what I tell people whenever they ask me. They're like, "Oh, I really like this car," but I'm like, I would not own one of those cars. I say the same thing. Just lease it. Just like it's not worth taking the risk for something that's that expensive. Like if you're buying like a cruise, like go whatever, buy the cruise, you'll be fine. But for anything that's over $30,000 or $40,000, I mean, if you buy a Tesla now, the Tesla will run. It won't be a paper. There's too much money. Somebody will buy the company. At worst case scenario, somebody else is going to own Tesla.
All the cars can't just freeze.
Yeah. So if you really want it, I get my buddy's got one. Somebody I play Ultimate with because I'm a nerd, and he loves it. And little things go wrong, but he still bought into it. So if you're bought into being a beta tester for a car because you like the way it looks, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't think your investment in the car would just vanish. And I mean, look, you're going to insure it, right? If it gets fucked up, it'll have insurance.
There are lemon laws.
Yeah.
If it totally bricks, you would have a lemon law case.
Yeah. And you can lease it. So you can really, for whatever percentage points, you can offload that risk onto somebody else for the most part. That's what I would do. Thank you. Jordan says, opinion, E30 325iX or Subaru Impreza 2.5 RS to learn to wrench and possibly safari build. I'm tired of the potholes on my commute. Would like to explore trails and dirt roads. I had a great time exploring trails in an E30. It was not even all-wheel drive. It had like a 1.5-inch lift, some upgraded shocks,
Philistine HDs, and stronger springs to lift it a bit, skid plate in the front.
Yeah, and a stock set of wheels with BFG AT tires on it, and it was a fucking riot. Like, it was so great. It's not, you don't even have to like safari. It was like a set of shocks and like tires. It was basic, and it was great at that. I don't know, Zach, you had a Subaru. You now have a BMW, albeit a newer one. You're an entry level wrencher, or ish. You learn by watching videos on the internet. What do you weigh in on that?
I think the Impreza will be slightly more reliable, and I mean the aftermarket support for that kind of stuff with rally and dirt and everything is huge. So you'll have a bigger support system. I mean, Impreza engines, when they get to about 100,000 miles, you usually have to do a head gasket. You probably have to do a clutch and something else. But I don't think they're known for the strange failures that BMWs are, which are more finicky. The Impreza 2.5 RS, I mean, which year? That's also a question, because they made, the NA motor, they made it with like the 2002 bodies, but you can also get a sweet 90s 2.5 RS, which looks a lot cooler. Man, I don't know.
I would say, here's my one bit of advice. If you're going to get the BMW, skip the all-wheel drive.
Yeah, 100%.
You really get a long way with just tires, and you don't need the complexity in your life. You might have a fucking mechanic that has never seen an iX before.
Very true. Very rare. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I will say on proving grounds, when we run things over the dirty shortcut, we're rarely running them 4x4. We're almost running them rear. I mean, almost, because you're faster. And I agree.
I just did an entire 25-minute off-road one take in a Hummer entirely in rear-wheel drive. I did articulations. I did all this stuff entirely in rear-wheel drive. You have to really be pushing a car to need that 4x4.
4x4 is slow. Like, what he wants to do, explore trails, dirt roads, unless you're going to go real slow, just get some of this rear-wheel drive.
Yeah. What you want is rally car.
Well, I mean, then, obviously, Subarus and rally and all-wheel drive go hand in hand, but the 2.5 RS isn't going to have as strong a diff or transmission as something like an STI, which is why the STIs were so popular. So there's probably less strain on the drivetrain running something that's rear-wheel drive only. You should message Ryan Somanchik on Instagram because he has rebuilt his 2.5 RS several times while rallying the shit out of it, and he can tell you all the things that are bad about that platform.
All right. Nathaniel says he heard us raving about Fiesta ST and went out and bought one and loves it. Thank you, Nathan. I'm glad you enjoy it. BMV36 says, should I get a BMW 228xi or a Subaru WRX?
I assume he means new cars, man. I think the new WRXs are they're so ugly.
Which one? The new 228? Is that I don't like any all-wheel drive BMWs. I think they all drive like pigs.
I don't like any all-wheel drive cars almost in general. Just buy a regular a 2 Series, a rear-wheel drive 2 Series.
It's nice.
Is perfect.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It is the best BMW, and I went with RAF. We had one, a manual, and like decent tires on it, and just snow drifting. It was great.
I got a 228 M Sport manual as like at like one of those journalist track days. It was awesome. It was so much fun.
And if you put snow, because I assume that this guy's in Canada, and he's assuming it's worried about snow. If you get snow tires, which I'm sure you know, or ice tires, Sam was recommending Hakas. They're even better on ice than in snow. You shouldn't have too many problems getting in and out of things. It's really about the traction of the tire.
Cool. And then he says, "Will I don't know what that means."
I don't know what that means
question. Will I ever not post if no money made? I'm not gonna. Do you like working for free? I don't.
I still don't really.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
It's a very Canadian question.
It's a very Canadian question. Jackson says, "I'm 19 with a 1998 Mustang GT daily driver and a semi-sorted 68 Mustang for the track. Okay, I'm going to school soon. Hold the 68 for the future, or sell it to get money for, or sell both to get money for a newer GT for daily driving and track." Well, I mean, let's assume your 68 is cool, but doesn't have any specific collector value, right?
I'm assuming it's a coupe and not a fastback,
Right.
which also hurts it.
How do we know?
Well,
we don't know.
I'm assuming because most people that have fastbacks write fastback because they're like they want to separate themselves.
I mean, look, here's the one thing. He's asking a financial question, not a car question, right? Like, well, also one thing. A 68 Mustang, how fucking good could that be on the track?
I mean, if it's really sorted, it will be a lot of fun. It won't be as fast as a new Mustang on the track. That's somebody else. It will never be as fast as like a modern Civic Si around a track, probably. Like, it just won't have the grip or anything. And it probably doesn't have too much resale cachet because, one, if it's not a fastback, it's not that expensive, and it's not sought after. They made 1 billion Mustang coupes, and it seems like hot rod prices just slowly are dipping because, the audience, the market of buying collector cars is moving more towards 70s, 80s, 90s cars.
Because they're all having failed angioplasties and dying.
Right.
So just offload the 68. Just be done with it. Offload both cars.
My advice, if you're 19 and you're going to school, you don't need a bunch of shit in your life to deal with, right? You want a car that works. If it's fast and fun to drive, that helps. You might go on road trips, you go back and forth to school, whatever. I say sell both and get a 2011 and up GT that will be fine on a track and that you can daily drive. That's what I would do. I say sell. Anyone else?
I agree with you.
All right, cool.
Sell.
Thirded.
And this other to go back to this last guy's question about the 228i versus WRX. For similar money, a TTRS plus mods? Yeah. A Hellcat or an M2? I mean, wait, what?
I feel like the price
and he
jumped
says
up
he's
a
not
lot.
the best driver.
The price jumped up a lot. If you're not the best driver, do not get a Hellcat, and do not get an M2, and do not get a TTRS and mods. All those are very, very fast cars. Get a 228i, skip the all-wheel drive, get a manual.
And go to driving school and typing school.
Yeah. You get a limited number. Your characters are limited by your donation size. So people try and squeeze shit in like it's a tweet. Yeah, you can't really hold it against them sometimes.
Okay, that's fine. Because $10 Canadian is worth like 14 cents.
I know. I'm gonna paraphrase this question from D1 Seppuku. How do I become your slave, Mr. Hardigree? Are you hiring? Is Apex One hiring? That's the question.
Right now, it's just friends. Read it, and Matt at apex.one. If you got a good pitch, I'll listen.
All right, Matt at apex.one. If you want to get a job, you do not email and ask for a job. You bring the pitch. That's how that works.
I lied my way into my first Jalopnik job, basically.
Yes.
So.
You can lie your way into all kinds of jobs.
Yeah.
President, for instance. What? And lastly, MB is Frenchie. Have I ever seen a Scotty Kilmer video? Nope. Sorry. Hardegree, thank you for coming in. You still awake? No caffeine, man?
No, I feel good.
Good.
I go out and party. This was great. This was fun.
Are you? Little Sunday night fiesta?
Yeah, I think Zach and I might get a taco.
All right. You should while you're in town. Do as the Cholos do. Apex.one, that's what we're promoting, right?
Yeah, Apex.one.
And by one is ONE. Apex.ONE.
Yeah, Apex.com apparently taken. Apex.one .one. And I'll say this, come back on Tuesday and there will be something very exciting.
And let's see what. Next season of Proving Grounds airs when?
Sometime in the fall.
Okay, not for a while. Movie comes out when?
Depends on distribution, but it'll come out this year.
Okay. Those are the things.
Those are the things.
Those are the things. All right. Why are you here? In town, by the way. I know why you're in this room, but why are you in Los Angeles?
We're filming more Proving Grounds.
Oh, okay, cool.
We leave tomorrow.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Oh, okay, cool.
Leave tomorrow, come back Saturday.
Oh, well, we'll have to talk about your Tacoma road trip, I guess, when you get back.
We will.
You're here, so I assume the truck made it. The brand new Toyota can be driven.
It can do anything. Yeah. It's a little loud in the highway. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Because you and I are going on a Tacoma road trip tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like a slightly quieter Miata.
Oh, are you still have the Tacoma?
No, different Tacoma.
Oh.
I dropped the Tacoma off in Seattle, and then he's getting a different one. I was like, is it the same truck? Like, no, I had the 2018.
Imagine someone else had to go get it and drive it back.
Well, if that was the case, I would have changed the trip and stuff, but that would have been very funny.
Yeah. All right, cool, man. Well, that's our show. What's my schedule for... I totally have shows. There's like a bunch of shows this week.
So we go to...
Like, I have many
Matt
shows.
and I go to CXC tomorrow in the afternoon, and then the guy from CXC comes up here.
Oh, yeah. I don't have time to go because I have to get my 911 from getting film on it. I have, like, an insano day tomorrow, but everyone doesn't need to know my schedule, except that 5:30 p.m., we have Chris from CXC Simulators, and their new place is called Base 51? Base something? I'm gonna fuck that up.
We should know that because we are going there tomorrow.
I think it's called Base 51, right?
Base 51.
LA's first premium simulation racing venue. It actually looks very fucking dope.
Oh yeah.
It looks dope, and they have a restaurant and bar. Like, see my friend Nat owned the go-kart track, right? Except the problem was he had a bar there as well, but you couldn't obviously go back and race once you started drinking.
They breathalyze you, yeah.
Yeah. You can get shit hammered and fucking race a simulator. That's the best part. Food looks decent. All right, so Chris from CXC and Base 51 will be here tomorrow, followed by the Everyday Driver Boys will be here on Tuesday, Paul and Todd. Wednesday, we've got Rob Bender Park from Truck Night in America. And then...
that show is
fuck
hilarious.
Me. And then...
we do a Q&A show on Saturday.
We probably are not going to do a Q&A show on Saturday, Zach, because I'm going to go snowboarding.
Oh, yeah.
But we have lots of shows this week, so we'll start that up afterwards. Mammoth calls, my friend. Mammoth calls. All right. That's the game. Smoking Tire Podcast is powered by Shout Engine. Get your own damn podcast at shoutengine.com. It's easy. All you need is a microphone, connection to the internet, and ideally, something to say. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.